Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a woman to society.
Then so shall you be. Hey, this is Lisa Landry. Welcome back to One Menace to Society. Today's podcast is part 2 of my chat with Dr. Lea Waters. We're discussing her new book, The Strength Switch. We're just learning as humans about mapping the brain and applying mindfulness to our everyday situations, which you and I kind of touched on a moment ago. How does positive psychology build a better, stronger brain?
Wow, I love that question. So I'm going to answer it in two different ways. One is to do with positive emotions, and what the neuroscientists have been able to show us is that there is a different kind of brain chemistry that occurs with our positive emotions, like when we feel happy, when we feel joy, when we feel curiosity, when we feel awe, wonder, calmness, serenity. These create a different brain chemistry state compared to the negative emotions when we're feeling fear, when we're feeling anxiety, when we're feeling anger, stress, frustration, etc. The neuroscientists have also shown us that they're located in different areas of the brain, so that the really primal emotions like rage and fear are located in a very deep area of our brain called the limbic system. But a bulk of our other emotions are located in our frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex, which, and the importance of me saying that is that it shows that emotions also have some cognition attached to them. So, for example, if you think of jealousy, jealousy is a negative emotion, but it requires us to think about it. Jealousy occurs because we have a comparison effect with someone else, and we feel like, well, that person is getting more than we are, and then it leads to the emotion of jealousy. If you flip it and you think of the emotion of gratitude, that's a positive emotion, but again, it requires some cognition, because for us to experience the emotion of gratitude, we have to think, wow, I'm really fortunate. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. This is something that I value. I've got more than other people, or, I have an abundant mindset. So what's interesting, what the neuroscientists have been able to show us who are working in the positive psychology space, is that positive emotions and negative emotions require thinking, which means that when we change our thoughts, we can change our emotions. And that positive emotions are located in a different area of our brain. They're located in the left prefrontal cortex. Now, the second way I want to answer that is to bring it back to the topic of mindfulness, because again, that's a big topic that's been studied in positive psychology. There are some core topics we study, and one is mindfulness, one is positive emotions, one is resilience, for example. The other is strengths, of course. And what the neuroscientists have been able to do in the positive psychology space is show that when we engage in regular mindfulness, so just daily doses of mindfulness, the cortical thickness and the neurochemistry activity in our prefrontal cortex expands over time. So
Wow.
it's fascinating. So what you're doing is you're basically building a brain that has a greater capacity for happiness.
Oh, who wouldn't want that mind? Right? And yet we push it away, don't we? You've done numerous studies on positive psychology and parenting. What's the top advice you would give to moms and dads who are listening and want to implement strength parenting besides going to your website and buying your book? What's like some top advice, just if you could only distill it into one sentence, if
One,
possible?
one sentence. Oh, that's a really hard task.
I
Okay.
know, sorry.
All right. So I start. Can I do two? Can I do two? Can I
Okay, you
babysit?
can do two. But
All
we're,
right.
we have a lot of American listeners and we have a lot of ADD over here.
All right. All right. First sentence is practice that technique of strength spotting. So go home tonight. Just look at your child. Look at where you're seeing energy. Look at where you're seeing self-motivation. Look at where you're seeing them happy. Look at what you know they tend to do well and naturally. So that's the first piece of advice.
Got it.
Strength spotting, wherever you can go. Second piece of advice is start to bring strengths into your questions, the questions that you have of your children, the questions that you ask of your children. I mean, we ask our children questions, hundreds of questions every day. What do you want for breakfast? Do you want to catch the bus, or do you want me to drive you? Where's your school shoes? Have you done your homework? What's for dinner? What do you need to do? Did you have a good day? How was school today? We ask our kids so many questions every day. And so the second piece of advice I have, and it's just an easy thing to do, is start to bring strength into the questions you ask your kids. So instead of asking them, how was school today? And I mean, we all know no one gets a good answer when you
Right.
ask the question. Ask them, what strengths did you use at school today? If they're having trouble, friendship issues, sit with them, be their emotional companion, show them compassion for the struggles they're having, but then ask them, what strengths do you have that you think can help this situation? If they've got a big assignment or project coming up, all right, what strengths do we need to use in the next 3 weeks to help you achieve what you want to achieve? So that's my second tip, is just bringing strengths into the questions that you ask your children. And I use that, the school question a lot with my 2 kids. And this probably gets back to your first question around what's it like for them to have a psychologist as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
What strengths did you use at school today? And I had a very funny situation with Nick a couple of years ago. He got in the car. He was in a very bad mood. He'd had an awful day at school. And I said, what strengths did you use at school today? And he said, Mum, I'm just really not in the mood for that question today. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I'm not going to force that. He sat there brooding, and about 5 minutes later, he turned to me and he said, well, I'll tell you what strengths my teacher did not use today. And he went on this big, long rant about they didn't use this and they didn't use fairness and they had no perspective and there was no justice there. And I couldn't help it. I mean, I just had this little smile on the corner of my face, because I thought, all right, he's so internalized seeing the world through strengths that he can now like have a rant and a complaint, and he doesn't even realize he's doing it from a strength-based perspective.
I like that. I think he's also kind of mirroring you and like the whole, like, let me break it down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's what, Mom.
Exactly right.
So what are some benefits that our children will experience when both parents, one parent, step parents, grandparents, a few teachers, caretakers, whomever, apply strength parenting to their lives?
Yeah, great question. And actually, just want to, before I answer that, I know I'm being a typical psychologist, aren't I? I'm not giving you straight answers straight away. But I want to pick up on your point, though, that you say it doesn't have to be both parents. It doesn't have to. You don't have to like live in this Leave It to Beaver home where both parents are idyllic and strength spotting all the time. If that young person just has one adult figure, hopefully it's a parent. Ideally, it's both. If it's just one parent, if it's a teacher, if it's an aunt, if it's a friend, if it's a sports coach, just one person in their life, connecting them up with their strengths, what they're good at, what they're interested in, what they get energy from, that makes a huge difference to the mental health of a young person. And that's what our benefits are. That's what our research program is showing, is that basically 2 broad outcomes. One is that strength-based parenting has what in psychology it's a protective factor. That's what we call it in psychology, meaning that it protects a young person against depression, anxiety, stress, negative emotions. And, we can't, as parents, we can't be there for our children all the time. We can't stop life from getting in the way. I mean, that's part of the formula of life. It's night and day, it's good and bad, it's yin and yang. We can't always, and nor should we, stop our kids from experiencing loss or challenge or hardship. But when we connect them in with their inner psychological capacities, meaning their strengths, when we connect them in with the sense, that maybe they have a lot of bravery, maybe they've got great emotional intelligence, maybe they've got great problem-solving skills. When we connect them with that, it's a buffering effect. It protects them against life's challenges. It means they don't fall as low and they're able to get up more quickly. So the second thing that we found is that when you take a strength-based parenting approach, and this is from the words of the children and the teenagers themselves and from large-scale studies and surveys, those kids and those teenagers who feel they have parents who help them to see and build their own strengths, it's not only a protective factor, it's an enhancing factor, meaning that these are the kids who report high levels of life satisfaction, more self-confidence, greater positive emotions, better grades at school, greater capacity to persist and engage, just a raft of mental health benefits.
We're seeing a spike in depression and suicide in young people now, very young people. I don't know if that's global or if it's just America. I'm sorry for your suffering and your sister's suffering. And I feel like you've been through the fire because you've experienced this firsthand yourself. Mm-hmm. We're giving our kids coping skills with this method of strength parenting. We're giving them confidence. And I want everybody to be able to stay in touch with you. You're based in Australia. How do we connect with you to learn more about applying strength parenting and throwing the strength switch?
Well, yeah, I am based in Australia, as you said, and you can probably tell from the accent. But
I love it.
But it's a global. Thank you. You know what? I love your accent too. It's hilarious. I'm on a 2-week book tour in the US and everyone's like, wow, I love your accent. And for me, I can't hear my own accent, but I hear yours and I'm like, wow, I love that accent. So, but it's a global world. So I'm big on social media. Handle is at Prof, P-R-O-F, Prof Lea Waters, and Lee is spelled L-E-A. So it's at Prof, P-R-O-F-L-E-A-W-A-T-E-R-S. On Insta, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Facebook is just Lea Waters. You know, as you mentioned, I have a website, the Strength Switch website, and I've put up a whole lot of free resources up there for parents who, just want to start to dabble and play. And there's great surveys, conversations, videos to watch. Obviously there's the book if people want to take a bit of a deeper dive and learn a little bit more about the practice and the science. And I mean, I'm really proud of the book. It's got a lot of stories. I interviewed parents from all across the world who told me their great stories. I have a lot of my own stories of what I did wrong along the way, because I think, we can learn from our mistakes just as much as we can learn from our success. And I also have a 5-week online parenting course for parents, again, who want to take that little bit of a deeper dive and get that kind of weekly help in tips and practice, because it is a practice, as I mentioned before. It's about repatterning your brain, and that takes a little bit of time. But the course, that's blown my mind. I mean, it's being used by parents in Italy, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Israel. Like, it's beautiful for me to see that there are so many well-meaning parents across the world who genuinely want to learn and make a positive difference in the lives of their family. That's really heartwarming for me.
Well, I think what you're doing is heartwarming. I've never met you, and I love you. I think you're fantastic, and I think you're brilliant. I truly do. And I would recommend anybody listening, please do check out Lee's book. At least go to the website. It's not that long to repattern your own or start to repattern yourself. 5 weeks, 8 weeks to put your house in order is not a lot of time. To get on that trajectory of switching that strength switch.
That's right, yeah. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it. We repeat the patterns from our childhood. That's how we choose the relationships in our adult life. Unfortunately, if you've had bad patterns in your childhood, you get repatterned until you figure it out, until you do your own inner work.
Right.
Frederick Douglass, he very famously said, it's easier to build good children than to fix broken adults.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so very much, Lee.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lea Waters. And thanks, y'all, for listening. Please join me at lisalandry.com. If you do that, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You will know when each new podcast drops. Every Woman is Wednesday. Also, check out Lea Waters on her website, leawaters.com. That's Lee spelled LeaWaters.com. And you can also check out her website, strengthswitch.com. Shout out, Ari. I got your strength switch, boo. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to toss it. I'm going to tickle you, too.